The 2025 Formula One season has delivered drama, dominance, and jaw-dropping performances. But what unfolded after the Miami Grand Prix has shaken the sport to its core. What should have been a celebration of McLaren's roaring comeback and Oscar Piastri's emphatic triumph has instead spiraled into a scandal of seismic proportions. Piastri didn't just win, he annihilated the field. With Lando Norris right behind him, the McLaren duo crossed the line nearly half a minute ahead of anyone else. In a modern F1 era defined by tight grids and marginal gains, a 30-second lead is not just extraordinary, it's unprecedented. But while fans were still reeling from the result, the tone in the paddock shifted. Quiet murmurs of suspicion began to surface. Within hours, those whispers triggered a full-blown FIA investigation. Allegations emerged of a potentially illegal system hidden within the heart of the MCL-39, specifically its brake setup. Thermal imaging data, anonymous tips, and escalating rival accusations all fueled the fire. Soon what began as post-race speculation evolved into something far more serious. A controversy dripping with espionage, secrecy, and power plays. It's less of a sporting dispute and more of a cinematic thriller, with the FIA now forced into the spotlight. And then came the statement, if you can call it that. McLaren CEO Zak Brown didn't issue a traditional press release. Instead, he appeared holding a bottle labeled "tire water," a cryptic gesture that sent social media into a frenzy and left pundits wondering if it was a joke, a protest, or a warning shot. This isn't your typical post-race analysis. This is a story unraveling in real time, a revelation that could redefine how we view McLaren's rise and the integrity of the 2025 season. If you live and breathe Formula One and want the unfiltered truth beyond the headlines, stay with us. Because what happened in Miami wasn't just a race, it was a reckoning. Dominant cars attracting controversy is nothing new in Formula One, and it certainly won't end here. But this time, it's different. This time, it's personal. Let's dig deeper. McLaren's MCL-39 has been turning heads all season, but nowhere was its performance more jaw-dropping than on the tight, unforgiving streets of Miami. While other teams struggled to manage rear tire wear, McLaren somehow thrived, lap after punishing lap. The very tires that have traditionally been the downfall of aggressive setups have, against all odds, become McLaren's greatest asset. That's what raised red flags, especially for Red Bull Racing. Christian Horner, ever the strategist and master of the political chessboard, had already begun planting seeds of doubt as early as last year. In a now infamous interview, he floated the idea, half joking, half suggestive, that McLaren might be injecting water into their tires. On its face, it sounded absurd, but if true, it could mean a massive advantage. Lower tire temperatures, slower degradation, and a strategic edge that no rival could match. The theory was never proven, but the idea lingered. And in 2025, it's exploded into something much bigger. According to reports from Auto, Motor, and Sport, Red Bull didn't just sit and speculate. They launched their own shadow probe, an off-the-books investigation into McLaren's brake system. They allegedly gathered thermal imagery during races and uncovered something odd: unusually cold zones in the MCL-39's rear brake drums. To those in the know, that's not just a curiosity, it's a possible clue. Brake drums sit close to the wheel hubs and they radiate heat directly into the tires. If McLaren had developed a way to cool those components, whether through clever airflow, exotic materials, or some unknown trick, they could be controlling tire temperatures in a way no one else can. Why does that matter? Because managing tire heat is everything in F1. Brake heat affects tire pressure, grip, and how quickly rubber degrades. If McLaren cracked the code to contain it, they could push longer stints, maintain peak performance, and execute race strategies the rest of the grid can't touch. It wouldn't just be a smart innovation, it would be a title-deciding breakthrough. But here's the real question: is it legal? That was the dilemma staring the FIA in the face post-Miami. Both McLaren cars, Piastri's and Norris's, were subjected to more than just post-race checks. They were completely dismantled. Every system, every component, every shred of data was analyzed in forensic detail. Telemetry, heat maps, brake architecture, nothing was off limits. It's likely Pirelli was brought in for tire behavior analysis as well. In the end, the verdict was clear. No rule violations, no illegal cooling, no underhanded tactics. McLaren was officially in the clear. But that didn't put the matter to rest. Though the FIA closed the case, the paddock didn't. The mood shifted from technical debate to political battleground. McLaren CEO Zak Brown, never one to shy away from a fight, struck back hard. Tired of what he saw as underhanded tactics from Red Bull, he called for a formal overhaul of protest procedures. His proposal? If a team wants to lodge accusations, they must submit them officially in writing, with a financial stake on the line. If the protest fails, the cost would count against their own budget cap. In essence, make your move, but pay the price if you're wrong. And then there was the bottle. During the Miami Grand Prix weekend, Brown appeared on the pit wall sipping from a water bottle cheekily labeled tire water, a direct dig at Horner's earlier remarks. It was more than a joke. It was a message. McLaren is done playing defense. As for Horner, he's played it safe in public since the race. "I'm not accusing them of anything illegal," he said carefully. But that restraint comes after the fire was lit. The mere suggestion, the implications, it's all part of the silent war waged behind the scenes in modern Formula One. Because in today's F1, the real battles aren't always fought on the track. Let's take a moment to step back and ask, what's really happening behind closed doors? Formula One has always operated on two fronts. On the surface, it's a game of lap times and engineering brilliance. But beneath that is a battleground of politics, perception, and power. Every team knows the race doesn't end when the checkered flag waves. It continues in press briefings, technical meetings, and strategic whispers. Red Bull understands this game better than most. By merely suggesting McLaren might be pushing the limits of legality, they didn't just spark an investigation, they shifted the narrative. In doing so, they put McLaren on the defensive, forced the FIA to act, and planted seeds of uncertainty in the minds of fans, teams, and officials alike. For McLaren, the consequences go beyond the garage. Whether or not they've broken any rules, they've had to open their designs to scrutiny, publicly defend their integrity, and deal with the pressure of media speculation. Even in the absence of guilt, that kind of disruption can derail momentum. And in a title fight, distractions are deadly. And let's not pretend this is an isolated incident. Back in 2024, when Red Bull was setting the pace, it was McLaren and others who cast doubt on their front suspension design, specifically how it allowed for a superior turn-in during cornering. Red Bull survived that storm, but the precedent was set. If you're dominating, you're under the microscope. Now the dynamic has flipped. McLaren is the team setting the benchmark. Red Bull, no longer untouchable, is playing catch-up. The accuser has become the accused and vice versa. Adding a new twist to the plot is Mercedes' team principal, Toto Wolff. Unlike Horner, Wolff hasn't fueled the fire. He's extinguished it. In a recent interview, he threw his full support behind McLaren, saying he has no doubt they're playing by the book. It's just smart engineering. Coming from someone who's seen both sides of F1 controversy, those words carry weight. Wolff's endorsement doesn't just reinforce McLaren's legitimacy, it also leaves Red Bull isolated. If others on the grid start viewing Horner's maneuvering as gamesmanship rather than genuine concern, the political cost could outweigh any competitive gain. Now let's entertain one final theory, one that's been quietly gaining traction among technical insiders. What if there's no secret system at all? What if McLaren's edge comes down to sheer aerodynamic mastery? Rather than active cooling or illegal tweaks, McLaren may have simply found a more efficient way to control airflow through and around their rear brakes. By optimizing duct design, manipulating how heat dissipates through the rims, and harmonizing that with their suspension and race strategy, they may have unlocked a balance no one else has achieved. And that's the paradox of Formula One, where innovation constantly walks the line between genius and violation. The best ideas often look like cheats, until proven otherwise. In the end, McLaren keeps the win. Piastri keeps his trophy. The MCL39 remains fully compliant with FIA regulations. But the real story isn't about what happened in Miami. It's about what happens next. Will Red Bull take this further and file a formal protest? Will the FIA reconsider its technical guidelines? Will Zak Brown's push for protest reform gain traction among team principals? Comments below. And once you're done, don't forget to click on the video that's popping up on your screen right now. And don't forget to subscribe my channel.